to Summon Greater Podcast, a podcast about homebrewing homies. This time, we have a homie.
Hi.
The homiest, one might say. It's my wife.
It's your wife.
My wife.
Because you just couldn't get rid of me.
It's true. You know who we did get rid of, though? Sam. Sam pulled the Don John card from the deck of many things and got trapped in an extra dimensional sphere. And when we find him, he'll be back.
Womp, womp, womp.
Until then, all his magic items are belong to us. So, in memory of Sam, we've been starting off our episodes lately, or trying to, with a new segment that we've been calling very creatively Summon Greater Soundtrack. I say that sarcastically and not sarcastically because we're really good at naming things. So we are going to bring a couple songs to the table and talk about why we love them for D&D. You can start, my wife.
Okay. Do we just say whatever is cool? So I am doing In Dreams by Ben Howard. And the reason why is specifically because I just wanted to see my husband cry. No. I think it's very thematic for what we're going to kind of talk about today. It's a song that has been surprisingly, as I have figured out over the, 3 minutes I was choosing which song, because you sprung this on me last second. It's a song that has been very prevalent in our more coupley characters. I think it has, not intentionally at all, but it has wormed its way into all of the playlists of our, I would say the big three, honestly, from what I can think of, is definitely the big three. So
I do remember making a concerted effort to not put it in Essence playlist.
That is fair. Mm-hmm.
Although it definitely came up and I heard it and I went, this would be perfect. No, I used this.
But yeah, I think it's a lovely song. It's one of the first songs that got me into a lot of this stuff as we kind of grew together. I would listen to it when you were states away from me and
Aww.
I missed you, and
you're going to make the audience vomit.
It's definitely I would say on top of that, it's just top 5 comfort songs for me too, for sure. So it's a good song, really good and you should listen to it because it's broody. It's broody, dude. Does
it match a specific theme or moment in D&D?
I have thought about that, and I would love to sit here and be like, oh my God, it relates to the sweeping romance and yearning between each other. But honestly, I think what's defined our big three, because that's what I'm unironically calling it now, is the heavy moments where we both surprised each other with just how capable we were with things involving stuff with D&D, the role play aspect and the building of a story, it inspires I could build a perfume off of it. It's it inspires deep woodsy notes and amber, and the bottom note is a sensual white or something like that, but I think if I had to specifically name one, I think it would be the first D&D character I made and one of the first you had made, which was Silvar and Pesce. That they had this moment in the woods after they hadn't seen each other canonically for a year.
I think so.
And they finally got to see each other again. And I remember specifically this moment too, because you were DMing and I had no idea that he was going to come up again. I thought it's just going to be this sidetrack.
In the actual campaign. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember it was the first one-on-one moment as a player that I had with the DM. Not like where everyone had left, but like everyone was present for that.
Like a moment that was for you.
Yeah, it was for me. And it was also, you know, like we were starting to build this thing together, you know, and I remember on top of just how like emotional and like just beautiful that moment was, I also remember everyone at the table, Sam included, being like, because they had no idea.
What?
Yeah.
Huh?
They had just no idea, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Well, how do you top that? You don't. But I have a song that I've picked out. It doesn't have anywhere near the same level of like sentimentality between us as that one does. But it is just a beautiful, beautiful song. It's most notably it's in Skyland's playlist.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
It's not one of the heavier ones. Skyland is one of my characters that is the most actively going through all of the shit that a person could possibly experience in their lives. Skyland is completely fucked. But this is one of the more beautiful songs in there. It is called Sing to Me by Missio. The moment that always comes to my head for this song, and I'm going to take this out of the context of Sylvar. Dang.
I got you
too
good.
many S names.
You do. Yeah, that's also part of your problem.
Yeah, taking this out of the context of Skyland and just putting into a broader D&D moment, really. I love this song as like a background song for a moment with a player character like meeting an NPC or a family member or something like that they haven't seen in a long time, and like having this moment of realizing that the world has changed them, mm-hmm. and they've lost their innocence, and they are jaded, and they are tired and bitter now. And it's just like, just that pleading kind of in the back of their mind of like, please tell me the old you is still in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
So that's our 2 picks for Summon Greater podcast. Oh, man. It is only Tuesday and it has been a week. Those are our 2 picks for Summon Greater soundtrack today. Man, we picked more S names for everything that we're doing.
You're doing great.
Help me. We will have those in the description for you guys to check out, as well as adding them onto our Spotify playlist that we're making. Whenever Sam gets back from the void, he can help us with that as well.
Please come home.
We're working on getting that wish spell, buddy. We'll find out where you're at. One big change since the last episode that went up. The last episode that went up was the one that we talked about the new rogue class from the 2024 D&D stuff. We recorded that episode, I believe, about a couple weeks before it went live. So in between us recording that and it going live on YouTube, the early access for the 2024 D&D content opened up. So I spent entirely too much time going through it. And good news, guys. The exact thing that Sam and I just spent 2 episodes bitching about, they walked back. They said, hey, maybe we shouldn't be greedy about this, and maybe we should allow people to keep the old content that they paid for. And so they made it a toggle. Exactly like I said they should. I'm not taking credit. I'm just saying that I was right. But that being said, again, for all of the issues that we've been having with the new D&D system as a whole, and with Wizards and Hasbro and all that stuff, the content's pretty cool. I've been making characters, playing around with the new classes and things, and we didn't even get a chance to talk about all of the new D&D classes in the 2024 update because we just didn't have time before it came out, which is honestly pretty impressive. The speed at which they were able to get everything going. One of the biggest memes I've seen online recently has been the fact that because of the toggle, you can now multi-class 2014 classes with their 2024 counterparts.
Ooh, that's dangerous, actually. Yeah.
So you can multi-class. You can have 5 levels in old fighter and 5 levels in new fighter.
Whoa! I'm looking at this right now. Actually, I'm gonna see.
Yeah, it's honestly,
wow.
As funny as it is, it's not all that strong. It's just really amusing. But that's still I do like that. Like for someone who's like, maybe I don't want to do like an entire new build, but maybe I like something better than the old one. Yeah. Because I know there were a couple of things we had talked about. I have not had the luxury of going through it nearly as extensive as my husband has, just because of the fact that I spend my time elsewhere. And by that I mean, for your sake, I won't tell them where.
Yeah. Most of it right now has been, planning my own campaigns and stuff like that, which, are going to be entirely not even related to D&D. But like, I remember the little bit that we had talked about specifically with clerics, I think it was, and how I was like, oh, that would be kind of nice. I really don't know if I want to commit to a whole big new thing.
Right. Well, the other cool thing about having the legacy classes available separately from the new classes is you can do a multi-class with one of the new classes and another of the old classes. So if you look at like the new warlock and you go, ugh, I don't like the way that they changed the new warlock. I really like my old warlock. But I wanted to play a multi-class warlock fighter. You can take the new fighter and you can take the old warlock.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that makes me really happy. It is probably as close as we could ever have gotten to full freedom of being able to pick and choose rule sets and things like that.
Yeah. Which I'm impressed and happy that they decided to do that, because I know like we as a group, whenever this started getting rolled out, and I know that everyone was pretty upset about it, we were like, if we have to start doing another D&D backtrack and, convert everything to paper and all this other stuff again, in my head, I was like, if we've had them change this once before, we can do it again, because there's no way that they'd let you spend this much money and do this much stuff just for them to go, well, it doesn't even fucking matter anymore,
Right.
Like,
yeah, I mean,
it's ridiculous.
The community has shown they're not going to stand for that shit.
Yeah.
Which is honestly really nice.
I'm
Props
happy.
to you, D&D community.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned planning for other campaigns that are not D&D related. That's not going to be the focus of our episode.
No.
But I think it would be fun just to bring up the campaign that you are currently working on.
I am, yeah. I am currently doing a lot of time, energy, little bit of money, but, we make it work. I will be doing in November a Fallout TTRPG with, what is it, I can never pronounce their name right. Hold on. I will mispronounce the crap out of it if I don't look it up. Modifius. Thanks.
Modifius
something. It's a role-playing game. There's been, from what I've gathered, some issues with it. But you also have to think that compared to what I would say is like the sleek free user experience of D&D Beyond, and, having people who understand the rule sets like we do in and out, transitioning to something new like this is incredibly, what's the word I'm looking for? This is a community effort. I think that's the only way that I can really put it is the people who I told like, hey, I really want to do this because Fallout is like on the list of interests and hobbies. It's like number one.
It's up there.
It's up there. The people who I told like, hey, I really want to do this. I'm willing to put in the time and energy, and it does not have to be a consistent thing. But like, do you want to do this? And also, by the way, it's going to be an entirely different rule set. And if you get a nat 20, it's not going to feel nearly as good anymore because nat ones are what you want. Yeah,
it's a reverse. It's a reverse system. So it's going to be a learning curve. But luckily, we have really our whole group kind of just said, you know what, fuck it, I'm down. Including my brother, which, Tyler's coming back to play some Fallout D&D with us.
I think what we should do definitely in a couple of months, once it starts, is we should have the 4 of us on to talk about it.
Sick,
yeah, I think that'd be cool. But yeah, I will say I have enjoyed it so far. I think it's really fun, especially because all of my campaigns have been homebrews. So I have no issue just like ripping a bunch of veins and things out of books and going, all right, so now I'm going to put it over here. And also I've never, ever in the several years we've been playing D&D opened a book.
It's true. She can't read.
I can't read. I've never opened a book for D&D. Like, I've looked at them, but I mean, like for my campaigns, I've never looked at a stat block. Mm-hmm. I've never opened a book and looked at an adventure. I've never opened the player's handbook.
No, that's been my job.
Yes. So
we get into a situation, she goes,
one would say that I'm really ill-equipped for this job. But honestly, like, I think it's been a really challenging and fun experience. I think it's definitely also opened my eyes to just a lot of the little nuances that I don't consider before, especially because one of my big goals as a DM currently is to get better at combat, which I think I've been doing a great job at. Yeah. And, with the new system, with the Fallout game, it's an entirely different mode of combat, but it's one that I am super familiar with because I played all the games.
I was going to say, going from like a video game combat into TTRPG combat can be really complicated. But when it's one that you understand really well, you can translate it very well. It's like Sam and I sitting here talking about putting Pokemon into D&D. We do really well at that because Pokemon's a game that Sam and I have been playing for all of our lives. And so this is your thing. Fallout has been your thing. So I'm really, really excited for the combat, for all the little details, because I know how much effort you've put into playing the games. I know how much you've learned from them and how much you love them. And I'm super excited to see that at the D&D table.
Especially because, at the peak of planning all of this, and, for those of you who do watch and you do play Fallout as much as I do, you get to the peak of all of this and you go, oh, how can I make this campaign better for everyone involved down the line? And then you buy the Dead Money Fallout New Vegas DLC and you play through it in one night.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
She didn't sleep.
I'm so thrilled. But yeah, so anyway, so I'm very excited.
And also having the TV show come out not too long beforehand. Phenomenal for getting
phenomenal timing.
Have never played Fallout, don't know what's going on with it. We gave them incentives.
We did.
Basically, we'll give you extra points in the game if you watch this.
Yeah, I mean, it's true because the TV show is what inspired me to do it in the first place. It really did, because I remember seeing it and being like, oh my gosh, like a beginner who has no experience with Fallout whatsoever could watch this. Like, I remember sitting there and thinking, oh, like Aaron and Bailey could watch this. Sam could watch this, and have a really good time. And I was like, I wonder if they have anything. And then I looked online and there was like books. And I was like, oh my God, let's do this, So
that's cool.
Yeah, I gave them incentive where they would get luck points, which, from what I've gathered without like totally butchering the rules is like the same as like you get 3 points of inspiration in D&D if you watch the show, which so we've been having little watch parties and I've enjoyed seeing people with memes rolling in, and Bailey has been sending me, God bless you, Bailey, if you're watching this, memes memes on Pinterest and everything else where she's been finding them of characters that she has no idea who these people are. But I text her about them anyway, like Joshua Graham being like my all-time favorite like DLC character. She'll just send me memes about him that make me laugh so hard. She's like, I don't understand this, but I thought you'd like it. And I'm like, oh, thanks. So yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely check back in on that in a couple months.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Another thing that you kind of mentioned, and I promise I'm segueing this into our main point.
I know, I was going to say, Sam has so much to edit now. He's going to have to chunk this shit up.
No. It'll be great. He's got nothing to do stuck in his extra dimensional sphere in the middle of nowhere.
That's true.
You mentioned how you have never used a D&D source book for a campaign.
Oops.
I don't think a single person in our group has used a pre-made adventure.
Yes, they have.
I know that Erin used a pre-made world.
So did Bailey.
Used a pre-made adventure for her first one?
99% sure. Maybe not for her first one.
I know people have drawn from them before. And Erin has used the Critical Role D&D universe. I forget what it's called now.
I do
Taldore?
Too. I think so, yeah.
But our group primarily does homebrew stories, homebrew villains, arcs, everything. I've never really been in a group that has used an adventure or a source book and like flip to page whatever for this city and read from this NPC's motivations and like used that to DM like a story. I found that interesting as you were saying that. I was like, yeah, we've never done that. And I'm wondering now, because we really don't have the opinion of the other side of someone who says, oh, I've never done homebrew. I've only ever done these pre-made stories, whatever. I'm wondering, I'm trying to come up in my head with like, what would be the pros and cons for each of those things?
Well, honestly, though, I think this is a good segue because one of the things that I always think of is the fact that we play D&D because we just want to build stories with people. And I mean, that's really basically every D&D group. I'm not sitting here pretending like it isn't, but we homebrew the shit out of things. And I think that's what makes our group specifically so great is because we all get along really well with that. But I do know that there are people that have stepped in before who are more rules centered or more book centered, not because they're like, actually, if you pick the page 92, and, but like, that's just how their brain works more. Mine,
look for more structure.
Mine does not work like that, and I think that this really does. I think it does segue pretty good into what we are going to talk about. But if I had to think of pros and cons, I think about my example personally for me with the way that my brain works and the way that, I present stories and the way that I'm driven is I would have no problem with someone going specifically out of a book because it's an adventure is still an adventure. It's still a story that you're building. I mean, it's the same with like Curse of Strahd or any other source material. It gives you a basis to go off of. The only problem is I've been writing books since I was, like 7. So my approach is different. But I remember specifically that there was a group one time that you were in. It was a while ago. And I don't think it was necessarily entirely like Dungeons and Dragons. I think it was more like Pathfinder or something. And I remember you telling me about it and like how the DM was and the rules and all of this other stuff. And this was even before I got forcefully dragged into a back hallway and sat down and went, roll dice, but like I remember you telling me about it. And I was just like, I couldn't do that.
You're right. I forgot that I played in that campaign because that wasn't like an alternative college campaign. Yeah. So when I had my very, very first foray into D&D as an adventure, not just a dungeon crawl. And that was I call it my first campaign because I really only sat in on one session before that. But my first campaign, it was phenomenal. We had like 2 different seasons, I'll call them, because it was in college, so we went by semester. 2 semesters of that. And then I did play in a Pathfinder campaign for a little while. And Pathfinder at the time, Pathfinder was fascinating to me. And I loved it because I was taught how to take full and complete advantage of the numbers in that game. I was taught how to optimize my build based on the numbers. I was shown if you take this thing, it gives you a plus here and a minus here, but you don't care about that minus because that's not what your character is here for. Your character's here for that plus. So you take the things that boost this, you dump the things you don't need. So I was like shown all of the tips and tricks in Pathfinder, which was basically D&D 3.5.5. So it was so much math. And yeah, I'd forgotten. It was a really, really interesting campaign. I did wind up actually, as gracefully as possible, bowing out of that campaign because it got to a point where I don't really know what happened, if we just started not seeing eye to eye, or if there was just like I don't remember, because that was also a period where I just wasn't doing super great in college anyway, mentally.
I think you just genuinely were like, hey, it's been really fun, but I just need to step back. Like, yeah. I mean, it's college,
there were a couple sessions where like, I was like, I didn't have any fun here. And I didn't really like the way that the direction of the story went. And I don't know, it didn't feel like you gave us that many options. So like I had my frustrations. I can understand where the DM may have been coming from with a story they really wanted to tell. But in the end, I wound up leaving that campaign. But that was one of the most intense learning moments for D&D that I had was in that campaign, where I really figured out like there's a lot of math in here. But if you sit down and you commit for like a half an hour, you can be really good at this.
Yeah. So this is where your min-maxing problem originated from.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah. And like I say, every single time, and I will, no matter how many times I need to without fail, it's just not going to be everyone's cup of tea. It's like I said in the beginning, D&D is rated E for everyone. But you just got to find your specific little niche in your little group, you know?
Yeah.
I've had just as much fun, I think, with every single person who I have had DM before, because the DM is, I would say, 85% of it. But, you know, the group is what makes it, because there has to be at least borderline end of the day, like teamwork and camaraderie. But yeah, I think also there really should be no shame in going like, hey, I gave this a good run. It's just not for me. I think I'm going to step out, you know? Yeah. So especially, you know, where I had originally been coming from with D&D before I started playing, I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to enjoy this. And then I figured out, this is what I've been doing in my, yeah, okay, here we go, you know? So
yeah. And all that being said, the whole homebrew versus pre-written argument is basically, what do you want to focus on in your campaigns? For the two of us and for most of our group, the reason, like you said, why we work so well together is because we love focusing on creating the whole thing together. We love when the DM gives us a world with a plot and where that plot is going, and we all sit down and we create our characters and graft them into that plot and maybe shift it in different directions. Some people don't necessarily want to focus on the like larger aspect of the story and creating that. Some people want to jump into a story and be the badass hero that just fucking takes control and runs down the path that has already been paved. some people want to come into an adventure that's already been written and optimize their character for that adventure and say, here's my character, here's his backstory, here's why he's doing the thing. Let's go do the thing. And you just go blast it and be a hero.
I have been just as content with players showing up for my campaigns with a stat sheet and a 5-sentence backstory as I have with those of my players. I almost wanted to just call out names specifically, but you know who you are, who send me like a 15-page document with 2 Spotify playlists, an entire Pinterest board, specific names, places, times, and exactly this. I'm super happy with both because I think that it's just your desire to be there and your desire to roll dice is what's important. As long as you show up at 5:30 and bring snacks, I don't care. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that does lead us into kind of the main topic of this episode, since we had a conversation with your brother Tyler on the episode that he was in about what D&D looks like for him as a father and as like a teacher, as he is now. We thought it'd be kind of interesting to talk about what D&D has looked like for the two of us as a married couple. We are the only married couple in our friend group, and
for now,
yes. Thankfully, that has not really caused any issues. That hasn't really been a point of tension for anybody or awkwardness. Well, I'm sure it's been awkward, but that's primarily our fault.
People going, oh, here they go again. Yeah.
But we kind of just wanted to talk about our experience with D&D from the perspective of a husband and wife who are sometimes DMing for each other, sometimes both players, sometimes playing as characters that are in a relationship, not in a relationship, related in relationships with other player characters. Yeah, there's been a lot there. What has that kind of been like for you? Because I know, obviously, when we started playing D&D, we weren't even dating. We were just friends, and our relationship evolved as we played more D&D with each other.
Yeah. Preface. Y'all are going to be sick of me because I will never not talk about this. And you will continue to be sick of me. Every single time you see my face, eventually you're oh, here we go. Some sappy shit's about to come out. I have had time to reflect. Our friendship, I mean, like, take so much of the stuff out of it, but like our friendship alone was really based on so much of this, because like I remember meeting you and I remember, the hangouts and everything else and, the awkward lunches and all this other stuff. Yeah. And then like slowly warming up to each other and like having funny moments and going out in Chicago and like, all this other stuff. And I remember so much of all of those experiences. But I think like what really solidified you and I personally, just even as friends, is the fact that we were creating so much of each other and we were celebrating each other's ideas. Yeah. That was the biggest part, because like art was something that I kept to myself. I didn't really have like a friend group to share it with at the time. I didn't really have the ability to just like sit there and have an outlet. I would just sit in my sad room and like work on papers and watch, and I think it was specifically one of the first summers when like whenever we did like one of our first play-by posts where I just realized I was like, this is what defines, for one, a lot of my childhood experiences, like doing little like, fun story building moments with like my friends and building worlds together and running around in the woods and like doing all this other stuff. And then,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people forget is like, or maybe don't necessarily make the connection, is like, all those times of like playing with Barbie dolls, G.I. Joes, whatever it was you had. I had Rescue Heroes. That was my thing. I had the big clunky whatever, and I had my Hot Wheels cars. And anything you did as a kid, we were making up stories all the time. Even just running around in the backyard going, I'm Batman. No, I'm Batman. No, I'm Robin. Okay.
Like I have a disgustingly vast imagination, you know? And then it was like you asking me like, hey, can you draw or paint this specific thing for like an NPC? Because I can't really like find any good reference photos or any ideas for it. And, you know, just as things continued for us, I mean, it's what brought our friends together to where we are now. It's what has been our saving grace on 12-hour car rides when neither of us are driving. It's been, you know, our pastime when we're super freaking bored and you roll over at 11:30 at night and go, look at this cool build that I made. Do you like it? And I'm going, yeah, that's great, babe. That's so 14. And then I fall asleep. You know, it's like,
how'd you get 39 AC?
Yeah. I mean, it was a wonder that it didn't somehow show up more in our wedding or anything like that, like looking back on it. But I think it's because we were like, we can't, like we could. That's what the 5 years for.
Don't let them see.
But, you know, now where it's at, I mean, you built this, which I had wanted you guys to do for so long.
No, that's
because I'm like, yap, enough. Phenomenal. Just do it on camera. You know, like just do it. Like it's not hard. Yeah. And just as things have progressed, as we continue with this specifically, like watching you guys grow and do all of these things, like I'm just so proud because, you know, when you grow up, you reach that certain point where your brain goes, oh, well, it's kid stuff. So I can't do that. And then you become an adult and you realize that life is so much better when you just do the things you love. And who cares? Stuff. Just who cares? Roll dice. Be stupid. Like, you know. Spin
on the spinny chair. No one cares.
No one cares. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, in terms of marriage, and then I'll let you talk. I think it has grown our excitement as a couple. I think it has allowed us to grow in our trust with each other and our security with each other. I think it has given us special fun moments and ways to celebrate each other beyond just like the normal 9 to 5 and the life events that happen. You know, you encourage my creativity, which is something I always wanted in a partner. And you encourage me to just have fun with things and enjoy things. And I thought like a year or two ago, like before we were married, like several months before we were married, I'm laying in bed alone and I'm staring up at the ceiling and it's 2 a.m. It's dark. There's thunderstorms outside. I am lonely and lost. And I thought, what if we're like 65 and our kids are like in college or grown and we're not doing this anymore? Yeah, whatever. Just bear with me here. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking like, what if we like stop doing this? I don't see that happening. Even if it means like 30 years down the line, we put away our dice for a couple of years. I don't see that happening. I mean, like even like my brother and his kids now becoming interested in getting to the age where they too can understand the basic mechanics of rolling dice and adding 20 plus 5.
Well, and even your brother not really having any idea of how to play D&D or what the game of D&D entailed, what it meant, whether or not he subscribed to the whole satanic panic of it or anything. He built an entire fantasy world for his kids because they wanted to play a make pretend game.
Yeah.
And so they go out in the backyard and they play their game in their world. And he has, I don't know, dozens of planets they've been to with reoccurring characters from like Disney and Star Wars and Warhammer 40K and Fallout. Like
yeah.
He's just built all this stuff. And they've combined everything. Like they've made this conglomerate world, and those kids will stay out in that yard for hours and beg him to play more because they just want to keep pretending.
Mm-hmm.
And only then, after that, did he come to me and go, "Hey, what's that D&D game that you guys play? That looks kind of fun." And I went, "So you've been playing since your child turned 3, but let's add dice to it."
Yeah, let's add dice to it and rules and, dragons, as if they weren't already there. I mean, even my uncle, who's like, he's, God, I'm so sorry for not remembering how old you are if he ever watches this, but he's older.
It's like 64.
He's in his...
He's 30s,
like
right?
young 60s. He has had a campaign for several years now with my cousin and several other people, like coworkers and things like that. And he's been doing all of that. He does a different rule set than we do. But actually,
he's a phenomenal example of playing by the book.
Yeah, he is actually, now I think about it.
I bought this new book. Here's the thing we're going to play. Yeah,
but he does a great job at doing it.
And he's got people that play with him that love doing that.
Yeah, and he's spent money on the minis and all this other stuff. And to me, I'm just like, that's just a prime example of like, just do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's never a time where you just need to hang up your dice. I don't know what you'd call it. Let him collect dust in a corner.
Box up your dice.
Anyway, back to...
We're really good at
this is what happens,
guys. This is why we got married, is because we both started talking and then we didn't really stop talking. Then we were like, oh, look, there's rings on our finger.
That's so crazy. Yeah. This is what happens when Sam gets, blipped away from existence, is now he's got to sit here and go, oh God. Yeah. But yeah, what has your experience been though? I'm interested and curious, like, because I've got so many other things I can say and will say, but
yeah, no, my experience with D&D coming from the perspective of being married, I started playing this game and immediately all I wanted to do was tell people about the cool fucking shit that we got to do in the last session and gush over the incredibly sick thing that my DM let me get away with, and sit there and be like, oh my gosh, like my character does this and then he does this, and then in the session it doesn't seem that cool on the paper that he can do this, but in the session he used it like this, and I'm getting goosebumps telling a fake story. I love getting excited with people. I want to... D&D makes me as happy as it is, as it does, because I get to sit at a table and look around at all of these other people who are getting just as excited, just as nervous, just as scared, just as angry at the same situation as I am.
Mm-hmm.
There are numerous things about how I grew up and how my brain works that make it so, because I think I have more of I'm not going to use the word dependency, but my brain puts more stock on other people having the same emotions that I am having, and making that and having that make me feel justified in having those emotions. Because there are definitely times when I doubt myself and I think, am I reacting to this properly or in the way that I should be? And then I just get down on myself. But in D&D, it has allowed me to be in a community, in a group of people that we are all going into a scenario going, oh my gosh, are you freaking out? Because I'm freaking out. Yes, I'm freaking out. This is amazing. And just being able to share and look at someone, or text someone under the table and be like, bro, do you think this is going to happen? And both of us just be like, oh! It's my favorite thing. So when I was doing it and I was single and getting into D&D and then being in a relationship in D&D, or still playing D&D while I was in a relationship, I've always been looking for opportunities to talk to someone about this game that I love, this thing that I love, because I don't want to let go of the shared emotion of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to let go of that. So I'll go from the table, and then you've heard me ramble all the way home, driving home from our friends' houses. And I just don't shut up because I'm still holding that, like, can you believe that happened? Can you believe, oh, that was amazing. So one of the biggest things about the evolution of our relationship is that when you and I became friends, we very quickly connected on D&D. When we started playing together, that was an immediate connection where we were just talking about it all the time. And for you, it was that continuation of the creativity and being able to jump into the storytelling that you had been doing when you were younger and had set aside for a while. For me, it was, again, that sharing the emotion. So we had very different approaches to it.
Yeah.
But I think that gave it even more depth. So, and that carried through our friendship into us dating and into us being married. The biggest change now that we are married is that I have an absolutely insane amount of security in our marriage because of what we have done in D&D campaigns. And I know that sounds really dumb. It's like, okay, sure, but like being able to completely separate from the outside world, sit down at a table and go, I'm playing a character who's in love with someone completely different. And you, the person that I am in love with, are playing a character who is in a relationship with another character. And we are going to pretend now that we can't stand each other. And we think that the other person is disgusting. And we get to sit there and we get to and poke and jab and whatever. And then when the DM switches over to focusing on another character or another player, we laugh about it and we giggle and we joke and we tease each other about how we're playing D&D and about how we're pretending to be mad at each other and whatever. And it was immediately funny and it was immediately enjoyable because we got to pretend to be things that we weren't. We were not mad at each other. We were not jealous people. We were not whatever. And so being able to introduce, introduce like micro doses of all of these like potential emotions and interactions in our marriage that we could have later on, and kind of microdose that with D&D and be able to say, okay, we've kind of experienced a very tiny part of what that might look like for us to have this massive blowout argument. We can now look at each other and go, yeah, like it's not going to be that
I'll never, ever forget the look on everyone's faces when we had discussed with the DM with our like specific married couple in particular about how part of their thing was having this big blowout argument, because that's one of the things that they really needed to work on, was just like being mad at each other, you know, as if we had no problem with that, you know, and her being like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's gonna be so funny. And the look on everyone's faces when we're describing our married couple like storming up onto the deck of this ship and me taking your hand and going, just remember, I really love you, and you going, I love you too, and then just
verbally
going at it.
Other.
And it's such a safe environment and never crossing a line, because that's the thing that I really, 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 really desperately wanted to touch on, is that everyone's marriage is different. Every game is different. Every marriage is different. Everyone's boundaries are different. And I have the full understanding that if something were, I mean, you have the rule already where as a DM, you should know if your players are like, this is too much right now for me, and I really need this to be scaled back. That is essential if you are going to sit down in a game. So the fact that not only am I DMing for you and you're DMing for me, and then we are, you know, players for each other, and we have all this other stuff, I have this deep instinctual security in you to know that if something were too much, I would tell you and you would be like, absolutely fine. Not going to happen again. Whether that's like an interaction with another player or like I said, like what Abby mentioned briefly before, like the aspect of our characters like being in a relationship with other characters at the table, which like, you know, I've had people before tell me like, wow, your marriage must be really good if you're going to be comfortable with that because you just never know. And I'm like, it's a game.
Yeah.
There's so many comparisons I could make it to, but the thing is that if I were have ever to have been uncomfortable with it, and I were to tell you that, you would immediately go, okay.
Well, and that's the thing.
And it wouldn't be an issue.
Because we've had moments where we've been playing and specifically on like play-by posts when it has happened. We'll be playing and it'll just kind of like stop for a little while. And we check in with each other and go, hey, was that too much? Because I noticed your energy just like it seems like you don't really want to do this right now. And we've definitely had conversations where we've been like, I don't know. I don't think I can handle this right now. Like maybe in a month, I'd be totally fine with this scene. But right now with where my head is at, not able to do it.
And that's not to say, you know, like I feel like I always have this deep insecurity of like all of our campaigns are so dark that this just keeps coming up ever. It's really not that. It's just like it's time and place. It's
and that's the thing. Like,
it's emotional bandwidth.
There are little things that bring back memories for people and that trigger traumas and things like that. It's about knowing your people, not necessarily having a strict list of every trigger that could possibly exist and staying away from all of those. It's about knowing your people. Yeah.
And I think like I've actually had some players before who are in relationships who have texted me and said, hey, for this campaign, I don't want to be in a relationship because I feel like it's crossing a line. And I really don't know, like, I just don't want to deal with this. And it doesn't even have to be related to the fact that they're in a relationship outside of the game. And I've just gone, yeah, that's fine. Because again, it's not a big deal.
And because you can choose how you play.
Yeah.
And if your DM does not want to respect the way the choices you are making about what you do and do not want for yourself in the game of D&D,
I mean, it's the same thing as like when I was a girl, like I was the only girl in an all guys group. And that was one of the first groups I ever played in. Any other time, I mean, I've seen enough horror stories. I was fully expecting some crap to happen. At one point it did. And I've never seen. And again, this relates to us, but also just relates to like the security of a friend group. I have never seen in my life that many men just suddenly go, we're not doing this, and get up. And I was like, oh, I'm like divinely protected right now, you know, but it's like, that's the security that I feel. The other thing I was thinking of too, to kind of pivot or not, you know, those sessions where you were like fiendishly writing for hours and hours, and you get done and you're thrilled and you're nervous and you're excited and maybe you throw up your lunch beforehand and you go and you play with your friends and you have such a good time, and then your friends trickle out the door and then you sit down and you're cleaning up your books and then your entire life just sinks. Because DM drop is a real thing. It's a lot of, you know, it can be a lot of emotions. It can be a lot of rules. It can be a lot of things. And when you are a DM, I think, you know, I won't say like everyone's felt this, but like, I feel like there is this part of you that at some point has gone, is everyone having fun? Like, was that a good time for people? Was I too much? Was I not giving people enough space to be their characters, you know?
A lot of DMs run on adrenaline.
Yeah.
When we're playing, like when I'm DMing, there are definitely some scenes where I'm sitting there and I'm fully relaxed and I'm chill and I'm like, this is great. I've got everything under control. And there are some sessions where I sit down and I go, all right, let me pull up my notes. And it just says the session number. And I go,
I've got 3 lines. Players go to here, meet this character, have no clue who this character is, and I haven't built them yet. Tree. Okay. Yeah.
And when that adrenaline goes away at the end of the session, you sit there and maybe it lasts for 5 minutes after everyone leaves, and then everyone's gone and all of the adrenaline disappears and you go,
yeah. I would say, I want to make one thing very clear as a small little asterisk into what I'm about to say. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before. I give no favoritism to my husband just because he sits at my table. In fact, I think he gets the brunt end of the stick because my sole purpose in life is to kill his characters because he keeps min-maxing these characters. I'm like, I don't want to kill your character permanently. I just want to get you down like past 0 hit points.
No, I made a mistake.
And struggle.
I made a mistake one time in a play-by-post that we were doing.
That I had worked so hard on.
Yeah, she had worked so incredibly hard on.
This was a special, like, here's your fun birthday present.
Mm-hmm. I built a character, and she gave me entirely too much grace with building that character.
Back when I gave him favoritism.
That's true. And I was playing
not favoritism, allowance.
Allowance. That's a better word for it because it was definitely not favoritism.
No.
The trauma that you put me through in that. Not favoritism.
Ha ha ha! Funny, not true.
I was playing a homebrew subclass for Barbarian that is extremely broken.
Yes.
Should never really have been allowed.
No.
I would not allow it at my table.
No.
It basically took like what has since come out after that, the Path of the Giant. It let you like become large and then also wield great swords in one hand. And your other hand turned into a Hellboy gauntlet that you could like smash the ground and make like an aura of hell. Anyway, it was insane.
It was gross.
It was gross. I min-maxed that character. I made a severe mistake. In 2 rounds?
3.
3 rounds. Sure it wasn't 2?
3.
2 rounds?
It was 3.
1 round.
It was 3.
In 3 rounds, I killed a god. The god of her campaign.
Keep in mind, the reason why I was so excited at the time is because this was the first stat block I had ever made. So I will say I did underestimate just how hard you can go. But when you get like 2 nat 20s and all of this other stuff, I mean, I was watching my world crumble. And from then on, I said, you know what? I don't care if we're married.
2 nat 20s and some brutal criticals.
Yeah.
And some other stuff in there. And
I was like
I did like 375 damage or so.
It was gross. Someone in the comments is gonna be like, there's no way it was that much and we're gonna have to figure it out. But the point is like from then on out, I made it my sole mission to kill your character by any means necessary, because I was like, you have set the standard, but also again, it spurs me on and teaches me how to do better. Leading back to, the aspect of what I call the DM drop. I do not feel like you've ever just been like, no, babe, like everything was so good. And you're like internally cringing. I feel like you have always been there to be like, we had a great time. You are doing a great job. You haven't drank water in 3 hours and you need a snack and you need to nap and not think about this for a little bit, and I feel like there have been moments where you've gone, this was really, really good. And I'm really, really like, I love how excited this part got. I had such a good time with this, kind of circling back to you saying like that shared emotion, but then you also going, but what you could have done, because I saw you kind of trying to figure this out. Next time we should do da 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 da. And I've always been like, oh my God, you're so right. Like that would have made it so much easier. And I feel like also at the table, I don't hesitate. I mean, granted, we don't hesitate in general with the group, but I've never hesitated to just stop and be like, Skylar, can you look this up for me, please? Because I have no clue what I'm doing. And you've done the same thing with me before. Mm-hmm. I think it's just, it's a hell of a lot of trust. to be able to share experiences like these in any capacity with what we do.
And it's also an understanding that sitting down at the table to play D&D is not magically transporting you onto the silver screen. We are not Critical Role. We are not Dimension 20. Mm-mm. And we shouldn't push ourselves to be. Like, we should have the comfortability to take a step back and be like, whoa, I am uncomfortable right now. Or to say, I have no idea what to do here. Or
to say, I'm ill-prepared for this moment. Here is a good stopping point. Yeah.
Precisely.
But I think overall, like, we just have a really good, I think it's, you know what it is? It's building communication with each other. Mm-hmm. And trust, communication and trust. Especially in a marriage, you know.
Yeah, and the security also to know that if I say to you, I am not ready for this, I am not able to do this, I'm not comfortable, I don't know how to do this, whatever, that you are not going to be mad at me, disappointed, or go run to someone else and be like, can you do this instead because my husband can't?
Or this does not specifically fit with the story. Could we maybe tune this up a little bit? Or going, I really, really want to work on this thing with you. Or, I mean, the times when I've gone to you and I've said, hey, without spoiling majorly the things going on in this campaign, because that's the other thing is I think there's this assumption like, you know, you're married, so you spend time at the table, you have favoritism with each other, and you know everything that's going on, you're going to meta. No. You don't know shit that's happening in mine. It's really, really fun. I love the moments when I see you go, oh shit, we had one just last session where I dumped this huge NPC thing that you were so not expecting after us playing in this campaign for so long, and you going, oh. And
you also make references to things that you've talked about with people who are not me.
Yeah.
And other players get to have that moment of like,
you are in campaigns. I'm not in.
I don't know what they're. Yeah, like
I'm in campaigns. You're not in. Like the list genuinely goes on and on. It really does. Mm-hmm. You know, I do tell you about some minor little things when I'm just extremely lost and need help. And I've also had so many moments where I'm just like, I'm not telling. Ha ha. And it's really funny. And then I've had just as many moments too where I'm sitting in the car and I'm going, I really want to tell you about this, but I can't, and I really want to, and I really want to, you know.
Mm-hmm. Just for a fun little side note here, I pulled up the character sheet.
Oh, here we go.
For
and this is where our marriage crumbles.
So this is my character. His name is Essen. You've probably heard us mention that name before. He is now an NPC in the campaign that you are currently running. Mm-hmm. Essen is disgusting. Again, most of this is not rules as written. Most of this is I asked my wife to give me more and more power, and she, in her blessed naivety as a new DM, went, sure, what could go wrong? This would be great.
I want to see how far you could go with this because I think it'd be cool.
And now my level 20 Essen character sheet has 24 strength, 20 dexterity, 24 constitution, 13 intelligence, 18 wisdom, 16 charisma, 50 feet of walking speed, an armor class of 25, plus 10 initiative modifier with advantage, proficiency in strength, dexterity, wisdom, and constitution saving throws, 416 hit points, a passive perception of 20, passive insight of 14. Never mind. Passive investigation of 17.
You're slipping.
I know. I just failure of a human being. Has a stupid, disgusting homebrew sword that does entirely too much damage. It is a homebrew sword called the Ignition Blade that requires attunement by a barbarian with strength score of 24 or higher. it deals 2d6 slashing damage plus an additional 3d10 slashing damage because it's like 5 feet long. And when you start raging, it grows another 3 feet long. And then when you're raging, in addition to the 2d6 plus 3d10, it also deals 3d8 fire damage. And I can wield that one-handed because of the subclass, which is another homebrew thing that is, where is it? Embodiment of Wrath, which he's so badass. Would he ever be allowed to be created ever again? Fuck no. This was a really cool one-time thing. And for that reason, he's now an NPC who's becoming a god, and we're never going to play him again.
Or if we do, it's going to be like very specific scenarios where,
it'll be a scenario
tomfoolery is required by law,
and we need you to be this overpowered because we're fighting like the devil from the Bible.
Yeah. I mean, it's just gross, And then meanwhile, I'm just like, I have a level 10 cleric.
Meanwhile, my wife's over here like, go, chromatic orb.
My chromatic orbs that have never hit. Yeah. So many inside jokes.
That was your signature spell for the whole first campaign.
And it never landed.
No, it landed one time.
It did. And then it failed.
It landed one time. And it failed. Oh no, then it landed twice then. Because the very first time that it landed, you rolled a nat 1 and you hit your ally with it.
Yep.
And then the second time, she chose exactly the wrong damage type, which was the damage type the enemy was immune to.
No.
And that's marriage, folks.
It is. And that's what you get. No. But yeah, I love us. Mm-hmm. I love all of this. I love the inside jokes and just the amount of crap that we get to do together. And, I'm okay with D&D source books filling up the bottom 2 shelves of our bookcase and tons and tons of Google Docs and
oh my gosh,
Microsoft Word notes and subscriptions. And thanks for letting me share your subscription passes. Yay. And me walking into your room and you going, I can't figure this plot hole out, and I go, 1 red string over here, you go, damn, and it's a good time.
We've been playing D&D for a hot minute, babe.
Yeah.
Do you remember what year it was when we first started?
2019.
It was 2019, wasn't it? 5 years. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, folks, it don't get much better than that. And on that note, we are going to leave you wondering and leave you waiting for the next episode.
Oh, okay. I was like wondering what.
No, I think that is, as you mentioned earlier, that is the perfect place to wrap up.
It's true.
Thank you all so much for sitting with my wife and I as we mourn the loss of my best man and best friend and best co-host, Sam, as he is stuck in whatever extra dimensional sphere he is stuck in. Like I said, we're working on that wish spell. We'll figure out where you are. We'll come find
He gets
buddy.
Lost a lot. He needs to stop pulling from that deck.
God, I know. He keeps finding more of them.
It's true.
I don't know.
He's got like 12.
Ever since the Book of Many Things source book came out, he's just been like collecting decks, and we can't get them away from him.
Please help.
It's bad.
It's getting really bad.
But see, this is the problem. He usually does the outro too. It makes me so sad, and I can't remember it.
Here, I'll do the outro.
Like, subscribe, and comment. We appreciate your opinions and your thumbs up. We do have an email where you can send us your little blurbs and things that you want to talk about. We have a Spotify an Instagram, a TikTok, and a YouTube. I don't think we have a Facebook because we're not that old. And here's all of the links that you can find. I have none because I don't have anything to showcase to you people.
We also have a Twitter.
We also have a Twitter where you can tweet us things. This has been Skylar and Sophia signing off. Have a good night. We love and enjoy all of you. And I'm going to go to bed now.
She is going to go to bed now. We'll see you all in the next one.
Bye.